Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Meyer, that noise earrings by my lighter. And welcome to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today's Wednesday. Because we have finished cataloging all of the major planets seen in the Star Wars movies, I thought we should start cataloging the major characters from the Star Wars saga in order of appearance. Therefore, our first character, major character, appeared at exactly the same time as another major character. But because he had a line that he spoke first, he is our first character, and that is C-3PO. Human-Cyborg relations. I'm fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. Yep. Everybody's favorite golden droid. With many nicknames. Mindless Philosopher, the Professor, Goldenrod. The list just goes on. So let us begin by telling the story of C-3PO. C-3PO was built by Anakin Skywalker about 30 years before the Battle of Yavin. He was built to assist Anakin's mother, Shmi Skywalker, in her various tasks. Anakin, being a gifted mechanic, salvaged the parts and built C-3PO without covering. So he's a collection of liars. He assists Anakin with building his pod racer and was present when Anakin won the pod race. Anakin was unable to take C-3PO with him when he left to go to Coruscant to be trained as a Jedi. So C-3PO was left with Shmi Skywalker. Several years later, a man named Cliegg Lars, who had fallen in love with Shmi Skywalker, who was still a slave, purchased her from Watto, and then freed Shmi, and they were married. C-3PO accompanied Shmi to Cliegg Lars' homestead, the famous Lars homestead seen later. 10 years after the events of the pod race and C-3PO's creation, Anakin returned to Tatooine, looking for his mother. He met C-3PO when they landed. Or should I say, when they arrived at the Lars homestead. Having met Watto, and Watto had told them where to go. Anakin, of course, reunites with C-3PO, in which C-3PO tells them that they should get inside. They go inside, and this is when Cliegg Lars tells Anakin that Shmi had been kidnapped by the Sand People. We know, of course, what happened there. Anakin headed off, found his mother, who died, and then he slaughtered the village of Tuscans. Thankfully, C-3PO was not there to witness that. Then Anakin and Padme left Tatooine, having learned that Obi-Wan was being held prisoner by the Geonosians. C-3PO then accompanied Anakin and Padme and R2-D2 on their quest to go to Geonosis and save Obi-Wan. This, of course, leads us to the Battle of Geonosis, in which, as we know, C-3PO got in a bit of a mishap in a separatist droid foundry, and hijinks, which are not very funny, ensue. Thankfully, he was properly reassembled by R2-D2. Then, of course, he returns. C-3PO returns to Coruscant with Padme, now basically having become her droid. But mostly because she married Anakin Skywalker. Then, of course, 3 years later, at the end of the Clone Wars, C-3PO now has his iconic gold skin and is faithfully serving Anakin and Padme in Padme's apartment. Of course, he is aware of their relationship, and I'm sure he's probably aware it's not correct protocol, but I think he understands privacy. Or at least, in that case, he doesn't always understand privacy, as we will later see. And then, of course, after the end of the Clone War and after Padme's death, C-3PO, along with his counterpart R2-D2, become the property of Bail Organa and Captain Antilles of the Tantive 4. 19 years later, C-3PO is aboard the Tantive 4 when it is captured by Darth Vader and Princess Leia is captured by the Empire. R2-D2 has the Death Star plan stored within it and convinces C-3PO to come with him. And C-3PO very, very reluctantly agrees to accompany him. They leave in the escape pod, land on Tatooine. They have a brief spat. They have a brief disagreement and go their separate ways, only to be reunited on the Jawa Sandcrawler. They are then purchased by Owen Lars, the son of Cliegg Lars, the stepson of Luke Skywalker. This brings us to C-3PO meeting for the first time Luke Skywalker, who would become his master for the next few years. C-3PO, of course, accompanies our heroes on their major adventures, being blown to pieces and needing to be reassembled in The Empire Strikes Back, helping the rebels win the support of the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, and in that sense, being accidentally worshipped as a god by them, is able to save the day, because without the Ewoks' help, I don't think the rebels would have been led to the back entrance of the shield bunker, and the Ewoks were able to help take the Empire down, because the Empire was not familiar with the territory, but the Ewoks were. And all this might not be possible were it not for C-3PO. Then we jump to about 30 years later. C-3PO is now the property, more or less, of Leia, and is working with the Resistance on their base on Dakar. It is during this time that he's reunited with Han Solo and meets some of our new heroes. and reveals that C-3PO has been shut down since Luke left. Almost immediately after the destruction of the Starkiller base, C-3PO, along with all the other Resistance members, evacuate Dakar and escape in their flagship, the Raddus. The First Order, of course, pursues them. C-3PO is quite against Poe's mutiny, as he expresses many times, but Poe doesn't listen. C-3PO, of course, accompanies the surviving Resistance members to Crate, wherein, when all hope appears to have been lost, the specter of Master Luke appears, and C-3PO is briefly, quote-unquote, reunited with his former master, who gives the droid a knowing wink. And of course, C-3PO is with the Resistance when they escape Crate aboard the Millennium Falcon with all that remains of the Resistance. What the future holds for our favorite droid, or should I say our favorite protocol droid, not our favorite droid, we don't really know. So that is the history of C-3PO. How do I feel about him? I like C-3PO. I think he adds a little bit of comic relief. I think the only comic relief that doesn't work is the Droid Foundry mishap and all the battlefield shenanigans in Attack of the Clones. I like C-3PO because his prissy attitude gives him a fish out of water characteristic almost all the time. And of course, his chemistry with R2-D2 is one of the defining aspects of Star Wars. They are the Laurel and Hardy. They are the two peasants from the Hidden Fortress. They are kind of the archetypes that we have seen and provide a good dose of comic relief. C-3PO is actually, if you think about what he did in Return of the Jedi, he is instrumental, I think, in saving the galaxy. With the Ewoks' help, the rebels are able to triumph. So in that sense, I think C-3PO is extremely pivotal to the survival of our heroes. In other situations, he is not. He's just kind of there to be a fish out of water. I think Anthony Daniels, of course, brings a lot of personality to C-3PO, which, oddly enough, was not the original intention. I think it was intended that he would be dubbed by someone else, and Anthony Daniels, being a mime artist, or trained as a mime artist, would be able to just do the movements. But it was decided to keep his voice, and the voice that he settled on was a kind of a nervous British butler, in Anthony Daniels' own words. And he certainly brings that archetypal kind of character to the screen. C-3PO is a great addition to Star Wars. I certainly hope that he and R2-D2 get to do more together in The Rise of Skywalker, because they were the ones who began this whole saga in the first place. C-3PO, of course, is visually iconic, being a bit reminiscent of the robot in Metropolis. And it is definitely a visually iconic movie character. And I think a great addition to the galaxy far, far away. So those are my thoughts on Goldenrod himself, C-3PO. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you hear is my ventilator, and thank you so much for tuning in. The page turners they were not. My Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.